All right. So I just press the record button. So let me get started. Let me get to the meet. All right. Welcome everybody. My name's Kai. I called this meeting to share my progress so far on a project I've been working on to do automations with Seestar. The goal of this is to share the whole code base so anybody with minimal background can do what I'm trying to do. All right. So without ado, I'll show you my presentation. Okay. This is I hope to be a interactive session. Um, I've been playing with this app for a while, so kind of have a pretty good feel what it does. But for anybody who's new or have a lot of questions, please interrupt. If it's more involved kind of questions, I'll probably push it to the end to answer. But if it's more shorter one, I don't mind, and we'll just kind of, and I think people will appreciate that as well. And I'm
Kai,
going to present.
Gary Byrne here in the Philippines. You say someone without much knowledge. I mean, how basically simple is this to do?
It's as simple as installing something and click a few buttons.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Good answer.
All right. So let me show you. Let me present. Okay. I'm going to bring up my presentation. Okay. Can everybody see my presentation?
Yeah, we can see it. Great.
Okay, good.
That's great.
So I'll start with a few slides. I don't really like slides, but then I'll show a live demo for you later. Okay. So here we go. So the app I'm been writing, it's called Seestar Help. I'll kind of explain what Help stands for later. Essentially, it's an automation app for Seestars. Okay. So what it is, it's a free, and it's going to be an open source platform to control and automate Seestars. That's an S. This meeting we recorded. It's just a reminder that I need to record, which I did. Okay. So what's the goal? The goal here is I want to be able to extend what Seestar can do. Things that like just one-click mosaics, do a whole session planning for the night, use Stellarium or any other app to control your Seestar and to target DSOs and objects in other targets. I want to control a whole array of Seestars. I want to support EQ mode, but again, it doesn't have to be EQ mode. But as you know, in Mosaics, it's much better if it's in EQ mode, but it's not required. And with that, also, I figure out how to do that in image targets below celestial horizon. As you know, some may know that in EQ mode, that's one of the soft restrictions that ZWO imposed, and I think I figured out how to work around it. Also, I can control Seestar as an SCOM enabled device. So that's how I can monitor that through Stellarium and other stuff. And I'll show examples. Also going to show you how to expose hidden features, things like gains and dithering, all that kind of stuff. And it can work as standalone or as a companion app with your existing Seestar app. What's the background? So my original thinking was this: I want to create something that education community can use that's cheap and be a portable telescope to teach students how to do high resolution stellar spectroscopy with minimal or no cost. That was my original goal. And one of the things I need to do is that students don't know how to. They may be having a hard time doing whole mosaic, all kind of stuff. So I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. So that's one of the leg that I'm trying to build to kind of do that. And this is that leg. It needs to be simple, powerful, flexible, and cheap. and I hope to meet that. So as a further background, the reason I need to do mosaics is when I do high resolution spectroscopy like these spectrums spread across multiple panels. In fact, this one spread around 5 or 6 panels. So you might say, then that's exactly what mosaic do. So that's why I need to figure out how to do mosaic. So that's kind of the initial push for me to kind of look into this. Okay, but I don't want to go too far. I'll give a different talk on this later for different things. So how does this work? So this is the standard way. You have a Seestar app running on your phone or your tablet. It talks to Seestar. If you realize, actually the app is actually a very simple app. Most of the logic is actually inside the Seestar hardware and the firmware. And this arrow here simply is a communications that when I push a button on the app, it sends a command to the Seestar computer on the Seestar telescope. And so most of the logic's actually in the Seestar hardware. So if we figure out what all the commands are, for example, if I press that red button to start stacking, that's actually just a simple command to Seestar. So if I know what that command is, then now I can mimic that app. That's exactly what I'm doing here, is that I essentially figure out what the commands are inside my Seestar app, and now I make this obsolete. I don't need this anymore. I can actually replace the Seestar app and then talk directly to the Seestar computer. Does that make sense?
Got a question though with that, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So does the Seestar not require certain conditions to be met prior to it?
Yes, it does, in that it does kind of serial check and stuff, and I'll explain that a little bit. But a lot of that's done on the app itself. So what it does is that I'll actually go through a start sequence. So start sequence actually is to give me the current date and time, give me the current location, and give me that are you a valid user. Those basic things. But I figure out what those are. Since anybody who's using a Seestar computer already bought the Seestar, the app comes in free. So you're not really buying a license for the app. So what I'm saying here is that I'm using the Seestar as intended, but I'm just creating a super set of this app instead of this app. Okay? So this is what's going on. So I told you before, the Seestar app talked to the Seestar computer. So what I've done is I create a companion app, what I call Seestar ALP, which can coexist with the app. And that, now one thing cool about the Seestar, in fact, the Seestar firmware is done very well in that it actually allows 2 simultaneous connections. 1 or 2, not more than 2. So it actually has a hard condition to say I can allow only up to 2 clients to talk to me. And so what I can do now is that I can, in one hand, still use the Seestar app to do whatever I've been doing before, but also I can use in conjunction, start this Seestar ALP app and do all kind of other cool stuff on top. Now, I mentioned it's optional, meaning that I actually don't require this app anymore. I can do everything with this Seestar app. If I do that, this become my driver. This become my essentially my in software lingo, it's a daemon. But all you can think of is it's behind the scenes, do all the dirty work for you. So what this means is that now I can put all kind of front end to it, meaning that I can put in an ASCOM compliant application on in front, like Nina or whatever. I can put Stellarium in front, or I can write any app I want to talk to it. In fact, I can have all 3 talk to it. Now remember, Seestar only allowed 2 connections, but the fact that I now have a proxy in front, meaning I can put 10 or 20 or 30 different apps in front. So I can have 30 different. In fact, if you have like that's one of the things that we can do as well, is that if you want like a classroom where 10 students can all control a Seestar, now we can do it. How cool is that? So think about a star party where everybody can point and set whatever. All that can be done in front, and this Alp will manage all that and send all the command to one Seestar. And that's what this does. And not just that, I can do this. Why do I have to stop at one? Because what this Alp now is that instead of talking to one, I can do a whole array of Seestars. Some may have Seestar Alp, some just by standalone. In fact, my goal later on is that we have 10 or 20 of these, all in an array, controlled by one app. All controlled by one thing. In fact, I'll show you a demo later where I'm controlling 3 of them. In fact, my current array is 3. I have 3 of them. Does it make sense? Any questions?
Yeah, is there any plan to have it controlled by something like Indy, so it's not just a Windows-only control mechanism with ASCOM?
Okay, perfect. You notice I have nothing here about Windows. Chrome can be anywhere. In fact, ASCOM created a cross-platform superset called Alpaca. In fact, that's what Alp come from. It's actually implementation of Alpaca standard, meaning that you can actually create the Indy driver on top. This can be run in anywhere. So in fact, one of the things I'm going to have is I'm going to have a Raspberry Pi running everything here. And then you can control with anything else. So you're now independent of Windows, independent of anything else. It can be anything you want.
Awesome. I have a Raspberry Pi, so that's good news.
Yeah. In fact, that's one of my next things. I have a few Raspberry Pi here. I'm going to install everything. One of my next thing is that I'm just going to have a Raspberry Pi running next to my Seestars array and just have a browser control everything. And one of my goals later on is that since I'm opening this project, I'm going to kind of ask for some contributors. Maybe they can write a nice GUI or web front end in front. But it's very doable, very easy. Any more questions before I move on? This is one of the key part is that instead of everybody have to run a dedicated Seestar app on a mobile phone to control a Seestar, and they got to switch back and forth, that's all gone. We don't need that anymore. You could do it still. In fact, you can have this running, control everything, and you still have your Seestar app to kind of monitor how things are going and do just to check how things are going, but that's not required. But that is one of the key part. I hope this is clear. Any more questions before I move on?
Quick question, Kai.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as monitoring and visualizing what you're imaging, you've taken care of that as well in your workflow, or is that managed solely by the Seestar app at this point?
I managed to take care of that as well. I'll explain that later. So the key here is that, think about it. Anything you can do on the app, this guy in theory can do, because I figure out all the commands that the app does to talk to the Seestar. So if the app say, tell me how my current image is doing, how my stacking process is going, it's a simple command, and I figure out how to do that. I'll show you that. Okay.
I have a question, please.
Yep.
If you wanted to use APT or Nina, wouldn't the developers need to write the drivers?
Well, look at here. I wrote the driver. So essentially, I wrote an ASCOM driver.
Okay.
In fact, Seestar Alp is a ASCOM compliant driver.
All right.
I did not implement all the command set, but in terms of basic stuff like focusers, dew heaters, the mount movements, all kind of stuff, it's there. But I'll explain why. That was my original approach, is expose all this as an ASCOM driver so I can use Nina. I'm also a Nina driver, a Nina user. But as more I use this, I start realizing if I use Nina to do what I want to do, it's actually more cumbersome because a lot of the smarts in these smart telescope is the fact that it integrates everything together. In fact, it has a plate solver. So what that means, I don't even need to have a separate plate solver. I actually can tell Seestar to plate solve for me. So all that, it's pretty cool. So what I came to arrive at is that, yes, I actually, this can be an ASCOM driver. And in fact, it is an ASCOM driver, but I don't actually use it as ASCOM driver. If you know the Alpaca standard, is that it's a superset where it's allowed you to do ASCOM, but also allows you to extend on top, which is called the action, which kind of leverage a lot. Okay, but I'll explain that a lot more later. Okay, I'm going to move on now. Any more questions before I move on? Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm going to do a demo of this, a live demo, but just in case, in live demo, there's always an issues here and there. So here's a basic idea. So this is Stellarium. So in here, I have, I will configure my Stellarium to control 3 of my Seestars. I call it Seestar Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. And these are all in regions in my sky. And in here, using the ASCOM interface, I can tell each of these to slew or to sync anywhere I want. Now, what this means is that now I can do night planning scheduling. In fact, with Stellarium, you can actually do time traveling to move forward or backward to kind of plan the nights ahead. That's one of the things that you can do that Seestar cannot do. So I'll show you that workflow, and that together will create a whole night schedule. For example, I can use this to control either all three stars doing target exactly the same schedule, or individually to say if I want to go from Mars and for an hour, and then Saturn for next hour, and then dim it for like 20 minutes later, and then afterward, wait for 10 minutes and then do something else. All kind of that's essentially run scheduling, and that's all doable through this app. All right. So how is it made? So it's a pure Python script. What this means is that any operating system that supports Python can run this. What does this mean? Is that I can now run this either in Windows, I can run this in Mac, I can run this in Linux, I can run it in Raspberry Pi, and in fact, I can run it inside Seestar. Can you believe it? So what that means is that if you know how to do it, you can actually put everything inside Seestar and just have a browser control everything. You don't need anything else. And again, I kind of mentioned this automation app, Seestar Alp, implements an ASCOM Alpaca specification. So essentially, it is an ASCOM driver, but on top of that, it's cross-platform. That's why it is Alpaca. The code will be open sourced, so anybody can free to add custom features. The code, it's going to be licensed as a GPL v3. What this means is that whoever uses code is obligated to open source their version. That means that whoever uses we cannot sell this. Anybody, they can add on top, but it's going to open for you. So that anybody can build a GUI in front or whatever, it's all there. All right. So that's my goal, is that this can be the framework for anybody can do any extensive functions on top of these systems. So
Kai, could I ask you to hit the hide button on that banner on the bottom?
Oh, okay, sorry. Is that better?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's a typical workflow. What do I do? Well, first I turn on my Seestars. I will launch my app, Seestar Alp. I can run Stellarium or not, or then afterward I just issue these commands. For example, I can tell it to start up. So for example, for people who does equatorial mode, I can tell it to do a very strict routine to say, move up your arm, rotate whatever positions, and get ready to start. So that means that if you have a known procedure that you know will work, in fact, you can tell it to move exactly what point, how far to move, so you can move it there, so you're repeatable. Once I do a start sequence, I tell it I'll create a night schedule. Night schedule involves a few things. I'll kind of explain that a little bit. I run the scheduler and then I go to sleep. That's it. So again, for the early question is how sophisticated you need. All you need is install this and click a few buttons. That's it. So about run scheduler. Okay, imagine this. So what the run scheduler can do is I can have a delay. That means that, let's say, I can say, okay, when it starts scheduling, I don't want to start until 10 p.m. All right, or I don't start until 30 minutes later. Or in fact, one of the more things I've been working on is that there's actually a placeholder, so you can actually tell don't start until there's enough stars. Meaning that if you can tell if there's too cloudy, then don't do anything until you see enough stars, then go. That'll save you. But that's typically how the scheduler can do in like Nina and things. I can schedule a series of targets. Remember, Mosaic is simply just one entry. Thing about Mosaic is simply a target, but then I set panel parameters, how many panels and how far apart. But again, that's one entry. So what that means, I can set different targets in sequence, and that's my schedule. I can pause. I can even focus between targets or even inside targets, or I can focus on other demands and stuff. I can turn on the heater at a specific time, or maybe even based on external temperature, because Seestar actually has a temperature sensor, so you can actually gauge if the temperature is below whatever, turn on the heater. Again, I can mention I can wait for clear sky see how many stars there are, and I can power down at any time I want. I can park my scope anytime I want. All those commands are one-line command sent to the Seestar. So that's just beginning. So these are things that I have. But think about anything you can imagine clicking on the app itself can be inside the schedule. So you can sequence anything you want.
Hey, Kai, I don't mean to interrupt you. We all just got a message that said the video is going to end in 15 minutes.
Ooh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, let me see what I can do about that. Hold on a second. If that happens, I'm going to restart the meeting. Maybe that. But let me see.
You may just have to send us all another invite.
Yeah. If we get cut short, I'll send an invite in the group, and then we can restart. How's that? I don't want to. I'll try.
10-4.
All right.
Where would we find the invite?
In the Facebook group.
Oh, okay.
Okay, would you be able to post it to the chat as well? I'm not in the Facebook group.
In the chat, which chat?
In the chat for this meeting.
Okay, I can try that. But if the meeting cancel, I'm not sure I can do that.
Yeah, maybe just post it a little bit earlier than that.
Okay. What happened here? Can you see this? Can you see my? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So with this, I can also interact. So I can use Stellarium and other stuff. So with this, because I figured out the command, so these are the things I can also monitor in terms of temperature and batteries. Some of the hidden parameters like motor move, gain, and stuff like that. Okay. So I won't, in interest of time, I won't go too far, but this is going to be recorded so you can always go back and see. So anything you can imagine in terms of the more advanced features, now it's going to expose through this app. And here, question is, how can I monitor progress? I can actually view the current image, and I can even look at the stacking performance and number rejected so far and stuff, and even browse my album. All that's through a way I can show. Quickly here is that I've tried different approaches as well. I can use ASI Air to control Seestar, but I find this actually easier. The other thing is that I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier is that I can use Nina, but Nina is actually a lot of overhead. This is actually a lot simpler. So I kind of go through that workflow. So with this, now it's going to be infinitely extensible because I can put any command, anything you can click on the app, now it can be scripted and controlled. And because it's pure Python, I can actually add other stuff on top. So I can actually add OpenCV for computer vision. I can use Astropy to add any astronomy-related calculations. So I can do all kind of extra cool stuff. So I can do anything because now it's totally programmable. But you don't have to go through this if all you care is just simple mosaic and stuff. So you can go from as simple as just click a few buttons, or to as complicated as a full programmable script, whatever you want. Okay, so let me kind of give you a basic idea how this goes. So once I start the app, I use a web tool called Postman. So these are essentially all the commands I figured out. So there may be two small, later on I'll show you a demo of that. So these are the different commands I can do. So for example, doing mosaic, doing a scheduling, starting a sequence, moving the mount, changing filters, doing focuser, doing place solving. But basic idea is that, let's say, for example, I want to do a start mosaic. So in here, there's a button called start mosaic, and here are the parameters for it. The parameters here are right now, these are, if you can read the text, then you know how to run it. Because the mosaic, essentially, I can name anything I want. I can pass in the location in RA and DEC. I can actually put -1. What that means is that it's whatever the location it's on, it would use. So if you actually move it there, it'll just take that position. So you don't even have to write it down. But if you know for example, if you know a very unique target that's not in any database, you can actually enter it here. It'll do that. If we know to use the light pollution filter or not, it'll ask you how long the session you want to last. Because I can create multiple of these. So I can say, I want to collect for this target for 3,600 seconds. Then move on to the next one. And I can tell the app how many panels. This is how many panels in RA direction and how many panels in DEC direction. And these two are the offsets. So it's how close they are. So if you want very close, you just change the numbers. And you can actually change the gain. So now you can change the camera gain so you can adjust whatever you want.
Do you have recommended defaults for those that you supply in the app?
This is the default.
Okay.
Right. In fact, this is a script that's going to be part of the part of the package. So you can use it as a starting point. You can change it anything you want after. So when you start from here, as later on, as people figure out a new command, they can just keep add on top of this. So right now I have quite a few. So I can essentially anything I want, it's in here already. But I'm sure there's more. So this is how I set up my EQ mounts. I have 2 in equatorial mode. I can control that through my laptop. Right now I'm using the Windows running Python. And I'll do that soon. And the example is that I have, this is a 2x2 panels of the rosette. You can see the little offset a little bit, but this is 2x2 mosaic. And this is a equatorial mount below horizon. So this to show that I've shown it's doable, and that's why I'm pretty confident anybody else can do that as well. I won't go too far. I'll go back. I'm worried about people get kicked off from the meeting. Are you guys still here? Hello?
Yes, we're here.
Okay.
Still here.
I'm just worried about the meeting get kicked off. Okay.
Still good.
That's good. So these are my notes. I figured out how to do image below horizon. Really, the trick is you just gotta fool the Seestar that you're not above horizon. It's a software trick. I explained that I don't want to go through too far here. Maybe I'll do that at the very end. But this is how I do it. But the key thing in this case, if you do below horizon, is that the app itself will not look right because it doesn't know it's still talking to Seestar. But if you use my app, everything will be fine, just like normal. Okay, what's next? I'm going to publish this to GitHub so anybody can download. If you know how to install Python in your computer, you'll run this, and that's it. That's all you need. I'm going to create a get started guide so anybody can get started. I'm hoping to get some beta testers so they can verify, because it's just like any software, there's probably bugs. So it helps to get some beta testers. And I'm hoping to have you guys to grow the community knowledge about this, and you can support the newbies. All right? Future plans? Yes?
What version of Python? 3?
Python 3.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to recruit some GitHub collaborators, because I got all the basic working, all the foundational part working. Can imagine you can just add a very friendly GUI on the web. Now you can imagine on a browser, you can use the browser to control a whole array of Seestars. Everything that I've shown, maybe even better in terms of automations and scheduling, but all that's there. Okay. All right, but I don't want to go too far. All right, let's.
Okay.
Yes.
Will you have a set of prescripted, scripts that we would need to perform as beta testers to verify that everything is working as it should?
No, I think beta tester in my mind is simply just play with it to see what you want to do, and it should work. Because all those scripts are already in that Postman I kind of showed. You just gotta play with it. But I can guide you through it. But all those different commands in terms of setting the gains, setting the dithering, going to targets, all that's already there in that. It's one click, and then it should work. It's really the idea is that if you wanted to get more sophisticated in terms of creating a more sophisticated scheduling or things, that's where a beta tester would come in handy. So here's the resources. So I have my Discord channel. This is I created a dedicated channel for this project. It's open, so anybody. I think this is probably the best channel to discuss technical stuff, because this can archive and it's easy to search. I also have my Facebook group, which is good for like a day-to-day thing, but in terms of more in-depth discussion, I think Discord's better. I'm gonna post this video into YouTube channel, and my GitHub. I already have a few projects in this GitHub, like the Seestar Run, but I'm going to upload this one as a companion app in this GitHub. All that's in here. Okay, let me show you a few demos. Are you ready? You guys see who's here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, let's go.
We're still here, but can I recommend that you just go ahead and start? We have like 4 minutes left, so can you go ahead and start a second meeting and put the link in the chat in here for us?
Okay, let me do that. All right, that'd be a good idea. All right, bye. Maybe I can extend this. Why is it?
I think it's because you're using a free version.
I can extend. Oh, I know why. I'm not in one of those premium plans, so they limit my time. That's why. Google. All right. I'll create a new one. Okay. I'll send the link in my Facebook group. Okay. See you then.
Would that be the Smart Telescope group?
Yes.
Or the Underworld group?
Smart Telescope Underworld.
Thanks.
I'll try to put it in Discord too. Okay, bye.
Yeah, could somebody in the that's in the Facebook group post it back here to the chat for everybody?
Yeah, I'll get it.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Bill.
Does this chat go away though when the second the call ends?
Let me second create one. Hold on a second.
I think this chat will stay here as long as someone's in it. So if you open like the new call in another tab and you want to grab something out of the chat, you can.
Oh, cool.
It does say all messages are deleted when the call ends, so I don't know if when Kai ends the call, that'll do it.
Maybe can you share your email so somebody can send you some information? If for those who don't have that, just in case.
Yeah, I think if you make a Google Calendar event and then give it a Google meeting, then you will be able to share. Yeah, you'll be able to share the URL here before leaving.
Okay. Let me see. I'm going to stop this recording and I'll start next one next. Okay. Bye.